Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Brothers channel. And this is my first impressions look on the Nike Kyrie 8 Infinity. So the name is kind of confusing. So on StockX and like Sneaker News and stuff like that, they're calling it the Kyrie 8 or the Kyrie 8 Infinity. But on the box it says Kyrie Infinity, which is kind of confusing, but I'm just gonna call it the Kyrie 8 Infinity or just the Kyrie 8. But anyways, let's get it started off with the tracciones. And as far as the traction pattern goes, we have a pretty interesting pattern. So it's a very aggressive like multi-directional pattern here in the middle of the forefoot, and we got an oval shape with some spikes here on the lateral and medial side. And also we have like a color change, so here it's yellow and here it's purple, and we have like a tooth pattern. In the middle of the outsole we got Kyrie Irving's signature, and then here in the heel we have the number 8 or the infinity symbol, which is pretty cool. And of course we can also see the exposed heel zoom unit, which we'll get into. So as far as the traction goes, for first impressions, just trying it on my wood floors, the traction seems really bad. I'm so sad, guys. The Kyrie 7 and also like all the other Kyries that I tried while trying the Kyrie 8 on my wood floors, all the other ones like the Kyrie 7 was biting well and had like a loud squeak and stuff like that. The Kyrie 8, very silent, and also the bite didn't seem crazy good. I mean, it was stopping, but it didn't seem amazing, which is definitely a letdown. But of course, it is just first impressions, and it's on kind of like my wood floors, which is, I believe this is like an acrylic material. So of course it can be different once I go on the actual hardwood, and also it can get better when I break it in. So hopefully it does. I'm just crossing my fingers on that. And also durability seems like it's going to be a huge issue. Just like in the Kyrie 7, when I played on an outdoor court, it just absolutely destroyed the outsole. And the Kyrie 8 also doesn't seem very good. So just pressing the rubber down with my fingers, the rubber seems very soft. It's really pliable, and also the grooves are super thin. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be very good for outdoor use at all. So that definitely does suck. Obviously it's a Kyrie, and Kyries usually have really good traction. So hopefully the traction does get better. And as far as the outsole curvature goes, we do have a little bit of an outsole curvature right here on the medial side of the shoe. It just curves up a little bit. For the most part, it's a pretty flat shape, as you guys can see. Comparing it to the older models like the Kyrie 2 and the Kyrie 3 even, and the Kyrie 4, they all had crazy curves. It started to curve from like the middle of the outsole here, and it really had a noticeable like shape. And here in the Kyrie 8 and also in the Kyrie 7, it is relatively flat, which, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I do definitely miss the feeling of the old school outsole curvatures found in the Kyrie 3 and the Kyrie 2. But anyways, it's still there. Of course, you know, the rubber still comes up, you still get good grip and all that. As far as the heel to toe transition goes, it seems pretty damn smooth. So here in the heel, we got a nice curved shape, as you guys can see, as well as a fully exposed midsole. So it feels pretty smooth here in the heel, and then here in the forefoot we have a crazy curve shape like in most Kyries, which feels super nice. And also, look at that. There's a good amount of forefoot flex, which is not apparent in a lot of Kyrie. So for example, in the Kyrie 5, just because of that Zoom turbo unit, they had to encase it in this like rubber outsole, right? So it's super stiff, right? Same thing with the Kyrie 6, super stiff here in the forefoot, but in the Kyrie 8, look at that. There's a good amount of flex. So heel to toe transition feels very smooth. I especially like the extra flex here in the forefoot. All right, moving on to the cushioning setup. Oh my god, guys, the cushioning setup feels absolutely amazing, right? So the foam is, I'm guessing it's just a full length Phylon, right? There is a little bit of compression. You know, it doesn't feel as stiff as like, you know, the old school Kyries like the Kyrie 2 and the 3. The 2 and the 3 were just rock solid, right? In the Kyrie 7, it was kind of soft, and the same thing with the Kyrie 8. Of course, it's nothing special, but I would say it's a little bit softer than like the rock solid Phylon that we were getting in like the 6, the 3, and the 2, right? But anyways, the foam, not a huge deal. Also, we have a zoom unit here in the heel, and when you pull up the insole, you can kind of see the indentation of the zoom unit. So I'm guessing it's top loaded, but I can't really feel it all too much. Hopefully when I break it in, I can feel a little bit more, but right now just walking around in it, I can't feel the heel zoom unit all too much. As far as the insole goes, the insole feels like a regular ortholite insole, and also we have this 8/infinity symbol on the insole with the Kyrie Irving logo as well as a swoosh. But in the forefoot is where it gets super interesting, right? So we have a Zoom Strobel unit in the forefoot, and it's pretty much the same exact unit as a Zoom GT Run. It looks very similar to that, right? And I got the Zoom GT Run right here. And the one thing that I didn't like about the shoe was the cushioning setup, just because it felt like the Zoom unit was protruding up a good amount so that my foot was kind of like going like this. So that didn't feel very good, right? And I thought the Kyrie 8 would feel similar, but it actually doesn't. It feels relatively flat, and it doesn't feel like it's like protruding out that much. So I really like that. And also in the forefoot, there is a good amount of compression. It's pretty damn crazy. It's super bouncy as well. So hopefully it's not too much like in the Zoom GT Run, but I definitely do like how it is a lot flatter than the Zoom GT Run. So that feels super good. And also another thing that I noticed about the Kyrie 8 that I really like is that it's so low to the ground, right? So I was trying all the Kyries, like the 7, the 6, the 5, the 3 here, and just like having like, you know, one shoe on the left and the Kyrie 8 on the right? And the Kyrie 8 felt significantly lower to the ground than all of his other shoes, which is absolutely insane. I don't know how they did that, especially with the crazy large Zoom strobel unit in the forefoot, but it feels extremely low to the ground. So just from my first impressions, yes, the Kyrie 8 has the best cushioning setup in a Kyrie ever, in my opinion. Of course, we have yet to see if I'm gonna like the crazy compression from the Zoom unit in the forefoot, but right now I'm liking it so far. It feels awesome. All right, moving on to the materials. Also, the materials are amazing, right? So here in the forefoot, we have like a textile material, and of course, Kyries usually use a very crappy material, like not a very high quality material, right? But the Kyrie 8 actually feels pretty damn nice, and it surprised me just how thin this material is. Like, look at that. Just in the entire forefoot, it's extremely thin. Like here in the Kyrie 6, it's kind of thick, and also we have all this rubber which stiffen up the material a lot, especially here in the forefoot. Same thing with the Kyrie 3. Look, it's not that nice, right? And it's kind of stiff, it feels glued down and all that. But the Kyrie 8, it doesn't feel glued down at all. It conforms to your foot extremely well. It's thin, it also feels supportive. There's not a whole lot of stretch to it. So I really like how it feels here in the forefoot. It stays extremely thin in the midfoot, which feels great. But when you come here into the tongue, look at how thick the padding is here on the tongue. Look at that. Especially right here. This has to be the thickest tongue that I've ever seen. This tongue's thick, guys, with 3 C's, not just 2, 3 C's, and it feels amazing. And it doesn't feel too bulky or anything for some reason. I really like how it feels. It feels super cozy on top of my foot. But in the ankle area, there's not a crazy amount of padding. I would say it's around the same as like the Kyrie 6. Maybe a little bit more than the Kyrie 6 here in the back of the heel where your Achilles is. But like not that much thicker. So it doesn't feel like too bulky or anything in the ankle area. And then the tongue, I feel like that's just the right kind of like proportions for me. So here in the forefoot and in the midfoot, I like to have it super minimal. And then for the tongue and also in the ankle area, I like to have a little bit of padding, maybe a little bit more in the tongue than the ankle area for me personally. But I do like that cozy feeling here in the back of the shoe. Also here in the ankle area and in the tongue, we have a pretty nice leather material. And then in the back of the heel, we have like a textile with some like leather. And I don't really know what this design is. What is that? The stitching? This squiggly lines? And also, of course, we have Kyrie Irving's logo here in the back of the shoe as well. So yeah, materials feel amazing. Also, you guys are probably wondering about this lacing system. So when I first saw it, I was like, yo, it looks very similar to the Kyrie Flytrap 5, which it wasn't like very useful or functional in my opinion, but it is pretty cool how it works. So how it works is that when you pull on the laces to tighten the shoes, these straps go underneath the laces and kind of like tighten a little bit more on top of your foot, which kind of defeats the purpose of having laces, because laces, when you tighten it, just tighten on top of your foot anyway, so it doesn't really do anything all too much. But anyways, it was pretty cool, right? It actually worked. It was free flowing and all that. So I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool, because this is the budget shoe and this is the actual signature shoe, so they're using kind of like the same like lacing system a little bit, right? But then it's actually a gimmick. The Kyrie 8 doesn't actually connect. So I don't know why they did that. They make it look like the strap is connected, but it's actually not. Also, another little detail that is kind of weird is the foam here on the medial side. It like protrudes out. It's kind of sharp here. I don't know what that's for, but pretty interesting, I guess. Now moving on to the fit. The fit is really good, right? Kyrie's usually fit me extremely well, so I really like the fit here in the Kyrie 8. So I went true to size and it fits me really well. It's super snug though, so if you don't like to have a snug fit lengthwise, I would suggest going up half a size. It's pretty much the same fit as the Kyrie 7, and also pretty much every single Kyrie before this, but it's a little bit roomier here in the toe box. It's still a snug fit, don't get me wrong, but I can curl my toes up just a tiny bit comparing it to like the Kyrie 6 is super snug here in the toe box, Kyrie 7 super snug here in the toe box. The Kyrie 8 feels a little bit roomier than that, which I feel like most people like. Also, the width is slightly narrow, not just like all the other Kyries have been. So if you have a wide foot or you like to have a super roomy fit, obviously the Kyrie 8 is probably not the best option, or probably go up like a half size to maybe even a full size. Moving on to the support and lockdown, it feels like it's gonna be good. I mean, it's a Kyrie. Kyries have always had super good containment and support. So here on the lateral side in the forefoot, we have a little bit of the leather and the foam coming up to act as a sidewall, which is pretty damn cool. And here in the heel, we have an internal TPU heel counter, so I feel like lateral containment is going to be good. And then for lateral stability, I feel like it's gonna be good as well. The cushion does protrude out a good amount, and it is a wide base and you're low to the ground. And I've never really had any issues with lateral instability in any Kyrie, so I don't really think I'm gonna have an issue with the Kyrie 8. One thing that's pretty cool is this little plastic piece right here. It does protrude out and also says Zoom Strobel on this plastic. It's a nice little aesthetic there. That looks pretty cool. All right, moving on to the weight of the shoe. I feel like it's gonna be around average or maybe a little bit lighter than average. Like when I took it out of the box and held it in my hand, I was like, yo, this actually feels kind of light. So I'm very curious as to what the weight is. Okay, so 12.1 ounces. That's actually pretty damn light for a Kyrie. Yes, 12.24 ounces. Let's just round it to like 12.2 ounces, right? So the Kyrie 6 was pretty damn heavy, like 13 point something. Yeah, 13.33 ounces. Same thing with the Kyrie 5. Yeah, 13.5. The Kyrie 3 is 12.2 ounces. So it's pretty much the same weight as the Kyrie 8. So yeah, the Kyrie 8 feels really good on foot. Like I absolutely love how it feels. Like just walking around, the fit is amazing, support feels good. I love how minimal the material feels here in the forefoot, but also I love the coziness here in the ankle area. I also really like how low to the ground you are for the cushioning setup. So I'm liking the way the shoe feels so far. As far as the aesthetics go, it's growing on me and I really like it. I feel like it's one of my favorite looking Kyries so far. Like comparing it to like the Kyrie 7, which had like jagged lines, the Kyrie 8 has a lot of like smooth lines, you know what I mean? So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comments section below. So wrapping things up, the Kyrie 8 Infinity is, I'm really liking it. The cushioning setup is awesome, low to the ground. The one thing that I'm worried about is the traction. Alright, so I really hope that is a banger, but everything else feels really good so far, and my first impressions of the Kyrie 8 are awesome. So anyways, that about wraps up my first impressions on the Kyrie 8 Infinity. Tell us your thoughts down in the comment section below, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.